And I was standing on stage with Lee Scratchperry, and there's like thousands of people, and I'm like lifting the rain up with him, and then it stopped raining.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 78 of the podcast, where tonight's guest is Julia Jacklin, who I recorded this episode with probably about a month ago now. And Julia had just flown into the country. She had literally got off a plane. She got a cab to our office to record this episode, and then she was getting in a van to drive to Wales to play the Green Man Festival the following day. So it was a very narrow window to get this done. So thank you to Julia for agreeing to do this when she had been so busy. She's been touring since February, when she released her second album called Crushing. And if you haven't heard that record yet, and especially if you're a fan of extremely emotional and honest and raw folk music and folk rock music, then check it out. It's quite something, this record. I won't try and give it some justice now. I met Julia at the end of last year. We did a cover feature with her for the cover of Loud and Quiet issue 131. You can read that on our website on loudandquiet.com, where you can get the lowdown on that record and everything that went into it, and the heartbreak and the hope that came out of it as well. So that's all in there. This conversation is a lot more relaxed. These podcasts tend to be that way when you've spent a decent amount of time with the person beforehand, and this wasn't the first time I'd met Julia, so it was just nice to catch up with her. And we're going to pick up the conversation talking really about the perils of touring the festival circuit, because Julia was about to play Green Man, as I say, and then she was about 7 days away from the end of festival season. So that's where this conversation starts. And let me just remind you that you can support this podcast by subscribing to Loud and Quiet magazine. All the information is at loudandquiet.com/subscribe, where we will post you our next 9 issues for as little as £3 per month.
You can see people leaving. That's the other thing about festivals. Like, even if they're just going to the bathroom, or they want to get a kebab, or they ran out of beer, or they're meeting a friend, you can still like visually see people like halfway through. You're just like singing your guts out. You just see them like, oh yeah, time to go.
Someone else is starting over there. Yeah. I need to go and check that out. Feel like I've got enough Julia Jacklin out of this. Yeah. I'm off.
You know, and you just sit there like, is this not enough for you? I feel like when I get really and that's the other thing with festival season, you're just like, it's chaotic. You're just flying in, and then you're being transferred to some place that's usually like some big field or some air hangar or some weird space, and kind of thrown into the mess of it. And then sometimes I get on stage and I'm in such a weird mood that I feel like I've been close to just being a bit rude.
Yeah, that would be okay as well, I think. Have you ever do you have, because some of your songs especially are very quiet and hushed and minimal, and I have seen you play at festivals as well as your own shows, but at your own shows I'm aware of the fact that the audience are very respectful of that, and then normally you can hear a pin drop, they're very quiet. But obviously at a festival, a bit like that walking away thing, they're kind of rabbiting on and talking. Do you find that? Is that off-putting when you're singing like a really, quiet song?
Yeah, I mean, I just always focus on, because you always know that there's a massive group listening that you might not be able to feel, because loud people are louder than quiet people, obviously. But yeah, because that's the other thing. You don't ever want to throw a show just because like there's some people who are not into it, because you don't want to be disrespectful to the people who are like really paying attention.
Before you were playing festivals as a musician, did you go to festivals?
Yes. Which
were the big festivals?
Well, they're Australian ones, so they're probably not world known. There was one called Blues Fest, which is a pretty big one in Australia.
Is that the first one you went to?
No, the first one I went to was one called The Great Escape, which went bankrupt. I think it had 1 year.
Right.
And I was 17, and it was like the best 2 days of my whole entire life.
Who played at The Great Escape?
I don't even remember. Like, wait, who was it? No one that great. Not to say anything bad, but it was like Wolf Mother.
Okay.
And like the Fumes.
Wolf Mother is still going, right? But it's just the one guy with the big hair.
I guess I saw them advertise on some random casino in some middle of America place.
That counts. That's still going.
They're still playing.
Okay, so you saw Wolf. What made it? I remember the first festival I went to, and it was the best 2 days of my life as well. It was like, and I was about 17.
Yeah.
And it was just that being let off the leash, like away from your parents, and being able to stay up all night, and it being dark. Was it like a camping festival? Like you're outside?
Festival, yeah.
Exactly. Like the best time ever.
Yeah. It was. Well, it was great for many reasons. Like one, because I had just moved high schools. So I'd moved from my first high school where I was miserable. Like I didn't know who I was supposed to be. I knew I loved music, but none of my friends played music or cared about music. And if you were into music at school, you either liked Jack Johnson or like Aussie hip hop. I don't have anything against Jack Johnson, but I do not like that music, and I don't like his Aussie hip hop. Well, definitely not the kind that was, very popular at the time. So I just, I knew that I really, and then I was doing classical singing, so I was just lost. I didn't know where I fit in musically, and so I moved high schools to the city, to a music high school, and I met someone on the train who was also starting this new high school, and we became really good friends. And she was like, "Hey, I'm going to this music festival. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "A music festival?" I don't know people who go to music festivals. Like, oh my gosh, I'm in heaven. Like, just even meeting someone who invited me to a music festival. Like, none of my circle at my previous high school would even think to do that. So that was, I just felt like this door had been open to me. And I went to this festival, and for one, my sister's ID worked, so I had a fake ID, which was great.
Do you look much like your sister?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very much. So that was, no, that's not true. Sorry, I used to use my sister's ID all the time. No, what happened was, I just thought, as I walked in, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to show this security guard my student ID card, which said I was 17 and was also a high school ID card. I was just like, maybe they're dumb enough to think that like 1990 means that I'm of age.
Right.
And they did. And they gave me an over 18's wristband, and I was like, that was amazing.
Because they thought she wouldn't be showing me this if it proved that she was underage.
I know, I just like went out with confidence.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And also gave me a lot of like newfound cred with like all of these new people I was just meeting. Because I was like, hey, this is what I did. I've got a wristband. I'm getting the drinks. And then, it was just like I'd never been around like all that music before. And, it was one of those festivals with lots of different tents. And so you're just like up and close to people who are on stages and playing instruments. And I was like, whoa. And there was this girl at my high school. Her name's Holiday Sidewinder.
Oh, she's in Alex Cameron's band.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she was at my high school, and I thought she is. She's really cool. And I am friends with her now, but at the time, she was at my new high school, I thought she is the coolest person that I've ever seen in the world, and I must impress her. Like, I wanted her to like me so badly. And so she was at the festival because she was playing with her first band, Bridezilla, which was also so crazy to me. The fact that I knew someone who went to my high school who was playing at a music festival. I was just like, what is this world that I have entered into? So I kind of I remember watching Lee Scratch Perry.
Right.
And I was with Holiday, and I was like, how can I impress her? Like, how can I get in? And I was like, I have to get on stage. Like, I must get on this stage, and she will think I'm the coolest person that has ever existed as well. So I just took a moment, I jumped over the fence.
How drunk were you at this point?
Pretty drunk.
Okay.
But not crazy drunk, because I remember the whole thing, and I was still like agile, and like, I wasn't like, teenage, sloppy mess. I had shit together.
Okay.
I just had a few drinks of courage in me.
Okay.
And so I jumped over the fence, and then the security guards like pulled me back. But then Lee Scratch Perry looked at me and he was like, no, let her on stage. And so I got on stage, and me and Lee Scratch Perry held hands while he sang this song. And then he was singing, and I just remember it started raining. And I may be imagining this now.
Is this a dream? This sounds like a dream.
I know, but this is how crazy this festival was for me. It started raining, and then he was like, let's sing a song to stop the rain. And he started singing this song about lifting the rain up. And I was standing on stage with Lee Scratch Perry, and there's like thousands of people, and I'm like lifting the rain up with him. And then it stopped raining.
When you're stood there holding hands and you're singing this rain song,
yes.
Can you see Holiday Sidewinder from where you are?
Yes.
Is that who you're looking at? You're thinking...
The whole time I
was thinking, can she see? What does she think of this?
Yes.
What's her face doing?
All I cared was that she was present and she was looking at what was going on.
Okay.
And yeah, she probably, it's so funny, I should ask her about this because she would not remember this at all.
I don't know, I think she probably would. I think she would. Did you, so after the set, how long were you up there for? Did you just climb back down, get back into the crowd kind of thing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, okay.
It was probably like a full song.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did your friends, and particularly Holiday Sidewinder, what did she think? What did they think of that? You were like a hero, right?
I was the king of the festival.
Yeah. And did she then think you were like super cool?
Maybe not. I don't know. Like, it definitely helped.
She was thinking, I should have done that. I bet everyone else was kind of thinking, shit, I should have done that. That's cool.
Yeah. No, it probably helped. I don't know if it like solidified my coolness for like the whole school year. Like, I had to do a few other things.
What else did you have to do?
Oh, like nothing. I don't know. I think that was actually I think I peaked.
Yeah, that's kind of, you can't really follow that.
And then it was a bit downhill from there. Yeah. No, I definitely wasn't like the coolest person at that high school.
I can see why, I can now see why that was the best festive 2 days of your life.
Yeah.
Like,
it was...
That story reminds me of the
huge.
story you told me about being young, probably younger than that, I imagine, when you wanted to show to people that you could sing, and you'd put your headphones on and start singing really loudly as a small girl.
Yes.
And with the idea of taking them off and saying, oh, sorry, was I singing out loud then? And they'd be like, you've got such an incredible voice.
Yes.
That kind of reminds me of that. Like, it sounds like as a young person, you were quite kind of fearless. Or you just would kind of do anything to get people to think you were cool in a way. And I mean that with the greatest respect.
Yeah. That's funny you say that, because this doesn't reflect well on me, I don't think. I remember standing in the line to get food at that festival, and I was singing a song, like an Angus and Julia Stone song, and I just remember, I remember singing in this line, being like, oh, I'm just casually singing, but I also was like, maybe like someone will notice how good I am at singing. And then this woman turns around, she's like, you've got a really beautiful voice. And I was like, oh gosh, was I singing? Yeah. I mean, the starry-eyedness of being 17 can never be repeated.
Yeah, and I actually mourn that quite a lot.
Me too.
Because especially like working in music and being a music fan, I resent the fact that however much I love something now, if I hear something, even if it's like an old thing that I've never heard before, it's never gonna mean as much to me as it did when I was 17. Ever.
I know.
You're never gonna idolize those people in the same way. And that, I think, is unfair. That's why that's kind of the thing I miss most about being young.
Totally.
And being like a kind of hopelessly, romantically walking around the streets with listening to music on the way home from a party or whatever. Oh, and you can't replicate that.
So hard.
It's sad.
I know, and I find that I have like a little glimpse of it here and there, and I chase that. I chase it so hard, but it never hits you in the same way, you know?
Do you revisit the songs that used to do that to you, do you listen to them a lot now, or occasionally now?
I do, and I tend to do this a lot when I'm on the tour, and especially coming towards an end of tour where I'm feeling old and sad and missing home, which is how I always get when
That's me most days. That's my constant state.
That's just regular life.
That's life.
Yeah, I think just at this point where I feel just, not to complain too much. I'm just very exhausted because it's just like a lot of plane travel and just like a lot of exposure. You're just constantly like around people and constantly like, I don't mind being photographed by people I trust, but I don't like it most of the time. And so just having that kind of stuff every day just really wears me down. It just makes me feel like, I don't know, very exposed. So it's in those moments that I really tend to go back to that music. And yesterday when I was like driving through the beautiful like countryside of Portugal, I just had like my head down and I was listening to Let Go, Avril Lavigne.
Yeah, okay.
And I was just thinking like, I was trying to remember what it felt like when I first heard Complicated.
That's the tune, isn't it? That's the song. Isn't that the song that you said that? Wasn't that the song you tried to impress your dad with, singing Complicated?
Oh, was it Complicated? Yes. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also a song called I'm With You on that album, which I also...
That's also like a ballad one.
Yeah, it's like...
Standing on a bridge.
I'm standing on a bridge. I'm waiting in the dark. Is anybody here? I know. And because nothing's going right and everything's a mess. Like none of the lyrics. Like listening back, like I thought it was so profound.
Yeah, poetic.
So poetic. But I mean, she's really not saying anything specific at all.
She's just listing things, really.
She's just kind of giving a vague idea of that where she is and that no one else is there. But I was listening to those songs and I just remember feeling so much. Like I remember being in my room and I had my like JVC CD player and I would just turn that up so loud, just like lie in my bed, just like thinking I would die of feelings. I would literally dissolve.
And I missed that feeling.
I know.
But I suppose at the time you probably, at the time do you think at the time you felt you enjoyed that feeling? I think I probably did in a weird way.
I think it was just so intense that it was just like this incredible mix of beauty and tragedy, I think I really enjoyed it mostly, even if it felt really sad, because just like being super sad felt good. And then you listen to like other sad teenage music and you're just like, we're all in this together.
Around that time, would you be listening to the Strokes song that you've just covered?
Yeah.
Someday. Was that part of that? Because that would have come out when you were like 11?
11, yeah.
That's a great cover. You did that cover a while ago originally, right?
Yeah, it was like 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
What made you put it out recently?
I think just Triple J finally got with the times and put it on Spotify. There was a few people were like, wow, why did you finally decide to put it out?
Oh, okay, right.
Actually, that had nothing to do with me.
They just put it out.
They put it out. So.
We should explain to people listening to this is a cover of Someday by the Strokes that you did for a radio station called Triple J. Yeah. Triple J is like Australia's like cool radio station, right? It's like
Yeah. Yeah, it's like our mainstream youth radio.
Okay, right.
Well, it's not mainstream. It's not like.
Is it like Six Music here?
Yeah.
Which is like it's mainstream, but it plays bands. It plays like alternative sort of stuff. Who was your favourite Stroke when you were 11? Who was your favourite member?
Well, it's funny. A lot of the bands I loved at that time, like I had no idea what they looked like. That was a totally...
So you were a fan of the Strokes without seeing them?
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite amazing. I'm a big Strokes fan as well, and I would say that the music stands up without looking at them. But to look at them as well.
Yeah, very beautiful.
Is like was a moment.
Well, it's funny because this is end up gonna sound like a bunch of old blokes like raving about the good old days, but but at that time it was like my connection with music was all you would go off was like the CD cover.
Right.
Like I didn't, or if you bought like a magazine and they were like the pull-out poster, or
okay.
Like there was a band in Australia called Grinspoon, which were like, I loved Grinspoon, and Grinspoon was my first concert. You know, I just remember walking out of that concert when I was 13, just being like, I think I just like found God. Like it was just, I had never, it was mind-blowing to me. And I was obsessed. I listened to all their records. I just like loved them. I knew every word, but I had no idea. I didn't know what they looked like. And I remember going to the Arias because my dad worked for like a supermarket and they got like free tickets. And the Arias is like our Grammys, I guess.
Right.
And I remember standing at the red carpet when I was like, 12 or 13. And this band like pulls up in a Cadillac. And I just, with my squeaky 12-year-old voice, I'm like, who are you? And the lead singer, Phil, was like, oh, we're a band called Grinspoon. And I just like screamed, I screamed my head off. But which is funny because...
What do they look like? Did they look you imagine, did they look cool? Were they young guys?
Oh yeah, they were
right.
young, and they were kind of like, they had that like sweeping side fringe situation.
So it would have been quite heartbreaking if they were like 50-year-old balding fat men. And you were like, who are you? And they're like, we're Grinspoon. You're like, oh no.
Oh no. Yeah, but anyway, I don't remember the Strokes. It wasn't like, oh, they're a bunch of cute boys. I think it was, but then again, I was introduced to the Strokes by a bunch of cute boys.
Right.
So that could have been
okay,
part of
that
as well.
helped.
Yeah.
So we had a friend of yours on the podcast at the beginning of the year. Stella Donnelly came in and did our podcast. It would have been before Tricks came out, the song that you co-directed the video for. Mm. Is that the first video you've directed other than your own?
Yes. Yeah.
It's cool.
It's
got, you can kind of tell, I would say you can kind of tell that you and Nick made it. Mm. It's got your feel to it. There's lots of dancing around the streets, running around suburbia.
I cannot do anything else. You want a music video? Great. You got to dance.
Yeah, we do. Your brochure of music videos is option 1 is you run around the streets and we film that.
Yeah,
and that's it. That's what you get with us.
A muted colour palette, dancing suburbia. That's all we can do.
Did she have some kind of brief? Was there any kind of like, or did she just say, can you just make me a music video? Was that?
Well, the tap dancing thing was just, I had that idea in my head for years. I don't know why, I just had this idea of like, do you know Tap Dogs? Is that like a thing over here?
That rings a bell. Is that like Stomp?
Yeah, I guess. I think Tap Dogs was the original one, which came from Australia, and it was kind of like a tap dancing show.
They dance with brooms and things.
No,
that is Stomp, I think.
Well, I don't know if they have brooms, but it's like Blundstones, white singlets, flannelette shirts around the waist, jeans.
Yeah, we've definitely had that here.
Tapping,
I'm sure of it.
Tapping on like metal surfaces and stuff. Because I went to Tap Dogs when I was like 7 years old, and I remember I had to wear like industrial earmuffs because it's very loud, and I loved it. And so I think I just had that image in my head for years, and I never knew what it would stick to. You know what I mean? Like another Australian band asked me to direct a video for them like years ago, and I was like, yeah, Tap Dogs. But then it just didn't work out because I was on tour or something. And then when Stella asked, I was just like, this actually might work. This might be the Tap Dogs.
Finally, I can get rid of this Tap Dogs bug.
So, yeah, it just all came from that idea of just having like an irritating guy from Tap Dogs
dancing around.
Dancing around, being irritating.
Yeah.
And
That's
still
for anyone that's
interacting
not
with it.
seen we'll put a link to the video in the description of this podcast.
Cool.
But for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, that's a good description of it. There's an irritating guy. That guy's really good though.
Yeah.
Who is that man?
He's like, we found him on like starsearch.com.
Is he a trained dancer?
Yeah, he's like a dance. He teaches like, I think like older people, like retirees to dance.
Because he, I don't want to disrespect him because he was really good, but I couldn't tell if he was like a really top end professional dancer who was kind of pulling back a little bit to make it look like he was like an everyday guy dancing.
Right.
Or if he was going flat out and that was him going flat out.
Yeah, I think it was. I think maybe when he was a bit younger, he was.
He was there.
Yeah, but no,
he was really good.
It kind of really worked out well as well because.
He looks great. It's kind of how I imagine. I like to think I dance like that.
Right. Cool.
But I don't. You know, like at my absolute best, I could pull off maybe some of the worst moves he was doing. But in my mind, he looked quite free in doing it.
Yeah.
It looked like a fun shoot to do.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was super fun. And because music videos are just the worst. Like, they really are. They're so stressful and everyone is so stressed around them and no one has any money but everyone needs to do them. And everyone needs to do like 5 for every album they make. And I don't know, like I love and hate that form so much, that art form. So for me, like a music video should not be stressful. It should not cost a lot of money. And it's like the song is that's the lead character. Like the song is what matters. And we're just creating like visuals that, to me, this is what I think, to lift up the song. You don't want something that like stamps on it. Or you don't want to add some crazy narrative to a song that already has a narrative, or I don't know, like some music videos are just so bad. Like you just think, how much did this cost? Like this costs like $100,000 and it just like, I don't know, I just don't think in music videos, like the more money you have doesn't mean anything.
Yours were all really good. The Fantastic Furniture for Fucking and Rolling is one of my favourite videos of last year.
It's great, right?
It's so good.
I love that.
It's running around streets in suburbia, but it's in slow motion.
Exactly.
There's a twist. There's a twist to it. But
I
it's really good.
Dry.
It's so simple. It's like and Head Alone has got a great video. Again, you are running down the street.
Running down the street in suburbia.
In suburbia. But that's what I want from a Julia Jacklin video.
Yeah.
But they always look good because of the light's always good. That's kind of a really stupid thing to say, but because they're in Australia and it looks nice colours and
is everything about those clips as well. Like obviously it's the performance, but we filmed Head Alone and Fucking and Rolling in like a few takes between the hours of like, 6 and 7 in golden hour. Like, it took an hour to make both of those clips each.
So Crushing came out. When we did the cover feature, it was a good 2 full months before it was coming out.
Oh yeah.
How did it go from then to releasing? How was releasing? And it feels like it's all gone really well. It's been received incredibly well from what I can tell from the outside.
Yeah, no, it's been really nice. Really, really great.
One of the things we spoke about when we were talking about Don't Let the Kids Win and the process of what you learnt from that whole campaign, touring that record, and then when going to write Crushing, one of the things you mentioned was how by the end of touring the first record, you've kind of felt like weird about singing these songs you'd written so long ago, and they were all quite personal and emotional songs.
Yeah.
And you felt like you'd kind of turned into this cabaret version of yourself.
Yeah.
And that was obviously before you put out Crushing and started touring it. Now you've spent solidly been touring it hard. How do you feel about the songs now and singing those kind of really, because it's such an emotional record? How does it feel doing that?
It's been much better this time because, I mean, the first record, I'd written those songs years prior, and like in the 3 years leading up to recording it. I recorded it, I didn't put it out for a year and a half after I recorded it. And then, you know, because it was my first record, it like started slowly and slowly built momentum. So it was a much longer process. Whereas this record, like, I still feel these feelings. None of these songs yet have become like, oh, this is awkward. Like, this is not how I feel anymore. So that's kind of really good for me. Even if it's like a bit hard to perform, it's like, at least I'm present. I'm super present. But yeah, it's been really great. Like, the release period was not very fun, I found. Yeah, which is, you know, gosh, everything you say just feels like you're being a big whinger. But it just...
What wasn't fun about it?
I just felt very... I love playing this record so much, but I found that the press lead up it just made me feel really icky, like talking about these songs before I had a chance to perform them. Like, it was like I had to explain the whole record before I understood it myself or had even like played it live, like really felt what it felt like to perform these songs to a crowd. And I don't know, it was just like I did a lot of press, and I kind of talked to my like manager and stuff after, and I was like, we don't have to say yes to everything. You know, like I did a lot of press, and there were some really great interviews. Like, I really liked the one we did, and you know, there was ones where it felt more conversational and where people had really done some deep thinking or had really listened to the record. But most of which is the nature of press, I get that, but they're heavy topics and people were kind of coming at them in a pretty heavy way, not thinking about like that I have to talk about this for weeks on end. Just being like, so tell us, like, have you been sexually assaulted? Is this what the, you know...
What people would ask that?
Yeah, totally. And like, oh, so body, like, is that a true story? Tell us, is that your ex-boyfriend? Who is your ex-boyfriend? And tell us, like, what are you know, you're a woman in the music industry, like, tell us how to fix it. You know, it's just like so many intense questions, really invasive questions, and this kind of this idea that, like, because I'd written a personal record, that therefore I was also just like this open book to talk about anything. So I found it just really, like, I was just constantly like trying to be polite, but like dodging. And I'm a lot more, even that was what, 6 months ago, and I'm like so much more confident now. Like, if someone asks me a question that I don't want to answer, I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
But then I was trying really hard because I didn't know how the record was going to be received, and you know, I wanted good press and whatever. So I was trying to answer people's questions as best I could, but it ended up, I just spread myself so thin that by like release day, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to release this record. Like, I'm so tired of myself, and I just felt like I said too many awkward, bad things, and which, you know, anyone listening to this will be like, dude, I read like one interview of yours. Like, you know, the press has spread so far around the different areas, but when you're doing it yourself and you're doing it back to back every day,
yeah, sure,
you just feel like you're just this loudmouth person that's just screaming their very like loose opinions across the universe for everybody to hear and judge. And yeah, I don't know, like I'm relatively articulate, and I think I have strong opinions on things, but on the other hand, I write songs because that's where I can express myself and where I can formulate ideas. So I don't always have the best way to actually explain these things. That's why I write songs. So it's like, people are asking me questions, I'm like, well, it's kind of in the song. And I don't want to dismantle the song.
Yeah.
And ruin the magic of what music is by telling you like everything, like where that song came from and like how I wrote it and where I wrote it. And yeah, and also just because it was a personal record, and I am kind of having to skirt around actual people who are in my life when I'm talking, I just felt a bit sick about that too. Like, you know, I don't really mind singing about it, but when I have to talk about it, it just feels a little cheap. Like I'm cheapening I'm just using these experiences to like get famous, get paid, you know, which is, I guess, in some ways true, but not really. Like,
do you find like the thing you were saying about how the emotions in those songs are still in you, like not enough time has passed for that to not be the case? Do you find does that make it harder to perform them every night? Does that make it more draining, or is it more draining to go out there and pretend like you were at the end of the last tour cycle?
Oh, way more draining to pretend.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is probably surprising to some people, because I get that question a lot, being like, oh my gosh, it must be so emotionally draining every night with your emotions out there on the stage. And I'm like, no, it's not, because like, I'm not reliving these experiences. It's just that I still have those feelings within me, and it therefore means it makes performing them meaningful, and it makes touring easier, because I feel like I'm actually doing something that means something to me. And I think that then translates for people in the crowd.
So have you got a kind of a plan for promoting this record, like of a point that you will just say when those are the shows done, when you feel like the shows when you feel like you are starting to pretend, or that you're just done? Are you just going to be like, I'm done, I'm going to have to go make another record?
I hope so. I really hope so. It's really hard with this business, because it's like things just keep coming up and you get touring opportunities, and it's kind of like this big culture of like, take everything, because soon you'll be irrelevant. Soon you'll be over the hill and no one will care. So like, just work yourself to the bone while you're young and like still relatively attractive before the music industry throws you in the bin.
Yeah.
Because you're like, you know, gosh, over 30 or something. I'm pretty sure I gave like some big statements, like probably to you and probably to many people after my first album, like, next tour I'm gonna call the shots and I'm gonna put my foot down and I'm gonna do this. And then I'm like, at the end of about 6 months of touring, being like, okay, well, next time I will call the shots.
So you feel like you've relapsed into, but you're like,
I'm learning, I'm getting better.
Yeah, and also it's one of those things, like, that is one thing that we did talk about, and you were saying how you were learning on the first album that you were kind of wanting to please everyone all the time, and like and it meant that you ended up doing certain things you didn't really want to do, and that was changing, and you were not kind of going to do that anymore. If you didn't want to do something, you would say, and you know, you just let people know. You didn't have to be happy every day, or you didn't have to feel like that pressure. But that's going to take ages, isn't it, for that to become
totally
the norm. The fact that you're kind of already aware of it is,
like change.
By album 6, you're going to be
I'll say that so many times.
You're going to be really mean.
Yeah, won't even be there. I'll be nasty. Yeah, that's true. And I don't know. I do this to myself. I love working. I enjoy just running around doing things all the time. Like, I say I want time off, and then as soon as I'm like, guys, I can't do this anymore. I'm just gonna collapse and never get up again. Like, please, I need some time off. And then I get time off, and I'm like 3 days in, like, okay. Like, yeah, I had 10 days off by myself in Butte, Montana this year, like a month ago, and I was so looking forward to it. Like, were you totally on your own there? Yeah. And I was just like, this is going to be the best 10 days of my life. Like, I'd just been touring so hard, and I'm like, I'm just going to be in Montana, there's going to be trees, it'll just be me and myself, and like, it was kind of cool, but yeah, after a few days, I was like, okay, not as cool as I thought.
Feeling a bit lonely.
A lot of time in my own head. Not much going on in this place.
I know, you really should have done this in New York.
Yeah, so I've also got to be aware that I self-sabotage with working hard.
Right.
And that I always take on a lot. And so it's kind of, it's not everybody else's fault all the time. It's also my own.
What are you going to do for your birthday? That's at the end of the month, right?
Yeah.
How are you going to celebrate? Do you celebrate birthdays?
I love birthdays.
Do you? Good.
I'm a big birthday person.
That's good. I'm trying to get back there. I feel like I always was, and then I just stopped. I do celebrate my birthday, but I don't feel like I kind of really tell many people or have like I don't arrange something, and I feel like I'm not going to have them forever. I'm running out, but I feel like I'm running out of birthdays now. I need to start doing it. What do you have? Do you have anything planned?
Yeah, but let me just give you a quick take on birthdays.
Go on.
My hot take. Because I'm always trying to figure out, people like you who are like, I don't really like birthdays and I don't really tell many people. I'm always like, okay, I'm trying to get to the depth of where that comes from. I'm like, is it because you don't like the attention? Or is it because you are worried about Rejection? That's another thing.
What about no one coming?
About no one caring enough, that if you stick your neck out, that then... because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I don't care about birthdays, whatever, because they're just worried that people won't show up for them, and they'll be disappointed.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, and so with my friends, if they say they don't like birthdays, I'm like, I will respect you. I will respect that decision if it's because you genuinely do not want... I don't want to be someone who's bringing a cake to your workplace and being like, happy birthday to you, if you're just no, this is embarrassing, I hate this. So, but for people like you, my bass player Ben recently had a birthday, and he was all like, oh, no, it's not really a thing, I don't really tell anyone, blah, blah, blah. But I knew it was because, he just didn't want to make a fuss about himself.
I think it's more that. I think it's just more oh, I don't want to, you don't want to put people out, don't want to make a fuss about it, unless it's a big one, unless it's a 0 or a 5 on the end. You can get away with a 5,
yeah.
But, if it's just not.
With Ben, we had a really nice dinner, and I got him a cake on tour, and I sang him a Casey Musgraves song that he loves on stage. Because I was like, you're gonna love the attention.
Yeah, it's only one day, I suppose. It's your special day.
And I think as well that there's also this thing with becoming an adult that it's I've heard some people who are adults who are like, oh, no one cares about my birthday, so I'm like, well, why would they? You're an adult. The only reason people are going to care about your birthday really is if you care about your birthday.
That's true.
That's what I think. So I care about my birthday.
Okay.
But also it's just it's an excuse to hang out with your friends.
That's true.
It doesn't all have to be let's praise me and the day I was born. It can just be hey, this is an event, this is a time, let's all hang out and just be together.
Sure.
For an occasion.
I know. I'm gonna start.
Good. I think you should.
I'm gonna start again. It's only been the last 5 years or so that I haven't, and maybe it's just my age. Maybe it's because I'm a bit older. I mean,
how old are you?
I'm 37.
Why are you saying you don't have many birthdays left? What's happening? You're not doing it. But I feel like you're getting into the good birthday.
Do you?
Well, I reckon 40, 50, 60, they're big. They're big celebrations.
That's I don't want to be thinking about my 60th birthday now.
Yeah, true. Okay, sorry.
But also, as I say, those end in 0, so they're big ones. So you have to do something for 40. If you're still alive at 50, then and 60, yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Back to plans. This is the plan. I'm going out with some friends to this bar so I can drink martinis.
Yeah.
Because that's just something I like now that I'm in my late 20s.
Okay.
There's just something very cool, I think. I mean, it's not cool, but it makes me feel very sophisticated and I'm some sort of mysterious male author from the 50s sitting in a bar drinking a dirty martini. Or, oh no, Sex and the City, they didn't drink martinis, I don't think. Anyway, it just feels cool. And then we're going to watch Crossroads, which is what I did last year for my 28th.
Is Crossroads the Britney Spears film?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's I think that's going to be my thing for a few years.
Okay. You've seen it before, obviously.
I've seen it many times.
How many times have you seen that film?
I couldn't count.
Okay. Is it good?
I think it is.
Did you see it when it came out, as a kid?
I mean, I don't think it's not critically acclaimed. And I definitely, at my 28th birthday, everyone who was there was like, Julia, this sucks. And I was just like raging drunk, being like, shut up. And I'm just like saying every word. And it was like totally obnoxious. But yeah, no, it's just kind of, you know, it grounds me.
Okay.
It takes me back to the good old days when life was simple.
Anyway, good night.